Hello, Joel Tadman here from Golf Monthly, and I'm really excited today because I've got my hands on the new Ping i500 iron. This is a really interesting offering from Ping, new to the I series range of irons. It slots in between the i210, the new i210, you can watch my review of that on the Golf Monthly website, and the G400. So we know that the emergence of players distance irons is really strong. It's a really prominent type of club that a lot of manufacturers are bringing out, and a lot of you guys are buying them because they offer, you know, obviously distance in a compact looking package. A lot of them look like muscle backs, and this i500 you can see is no exception. But like the G700, this is a hollow club, so it has that look of a muscle back. It's compact down there by the ball. In fact, it has the same amount of offset as the Ping iBlade, so not much offset on this club at all. It's got the blade length of the i210, so it's got kind of hallmarks of a compact club, maybe a slightly thicker top line, slightly wider sole, and it's generally going to be longer and more forgiving than those clubs. You can see here it says forged on the back. That's because we've got a variable thickness forged face here, which is plasma welded robotically to the body. Now the distance of this iron comes from the C300 miraging steel face. It flexes 5 times as much Ping say as the face on the i200 iron, so it's a really springy, bendy material. It's strong but flexible, and that's where the ball speed is going to come from. Ping also say that the top rail actually hinges back quite a lot. Impact, there's a lot of stress there, actually a lot of movement there on that top rail, which means the ball is going to launch a little bit higher with more speed and also low spin, so that's going to give you a little bit more distance. Now I tested this iron yesterday over at Foresight Sports HQ on the GCQuad launch monitor using premium golf balls with the 7 iron, which has a loft of 30.5 degrees, so it is stepping slightly on the toes of the G400, but you can watch another video about how this iron fits in the range from my colleague Joel Tadman. I tested it in the stock shaft here, which is the Dynamic Gold 105 S300, which is obviously a lot lighter than the shaft I would normally use. The S300 actually comes in at 103 grams, so it's a very, very lightweight shaft for me. Before we talk about the performance, let's talk about the looks of this club, because for me, this is unquestionably the best looking iron in the Ping family for 2018. As you'd imagine, it looks like a muscle back. It's even got the forged label on the back, which makes it look and give the impression that it is a muscle back iron. It's so clean, classic looking from the back. There's just some subtle details on there. You've got the west screw on the end for the weight port, but you know, down by the ball, it's just so clean, simple, traditional. I love the lack of offset. I love the blade length. It just looks, this is actually a 5 iron I've got here, and it doesn't look chunky at all. You know, this is definitely a profile of iron that I could play, but we'll come on to why I probably wouldn't play it a bit later on in this video. But looks wise, I think it's fantastic. Ping have really done a fantastic job with this. It ticks all the boxes. But what does the performance offer? Let's take a look at the launch monitor numbers to see what we got. Right, so the numbers then for the Ping i500 7 iron in 30.5 degrees of loft. You can see got some exceptional ball speed here at 124 miles an hour, launching at 18.9, which is actually fairly low. I was actually expecting it to launch a little bit higher, and the peak height as well was slightly low at 36 yards. I suppose given the loft that you might expect a slightly lower ball flight than more traditionally lofted irons in the Ping range, but because of that technology there in the head and the face bending and the top line moving and all things like that, you'd expect it maybe to fly a little bit higher. But that said, there's no question that Ping have kept the spin down with this iron. I've got the 7 iron spinning at an average 4,300 RPM. That's unquestionably one of the lowest spinning 7 irons I've hit this year. As a result, the carry distance was very good, carrying at 185 yards on average with a slightly shallow descending angle of 46.9. So with that spin number as well, you could possibly question that the stopping power isn't as good as it could be. But if you're a golfer, I'm going to put the iPad down now. If you're a golfer looking for speed and distance, the i500 is unquestionably delivering that in what is a surprisingly compact package. What I haven't mentioned yet with this iron is that it does actually come in a couple of different specs. You've got a power spec, which is slightly stronger lofted, about 1.5 degrees through the bag, to give you more distance if you need it. And then there's also what some people are calling a retro spec, which is actually a slightly higher lofted option, which I think a lot of golfers might take up with this set, because this is quite a strong lofted set. It's going to provide you with exceptional distance. For me, a 7-iron carrying 185 yards is definitely too far. I normally carry a 7-iron about 160 yards, 165 yards on average. So for one that goes 20 yards further is not something that I'm necessarily interested in. But that retro spec, which is around about 1.5 degrees weaker, that's something I'm definitely interested in, because I'm getting some good speed, a fantastic looking iron in a profile that looks really good. I'm not a fan of the progressive offset of the i210. These long irons definitely have less offset, which I really like. And in that weaker spec option, I can have a club that produces more manageable distances with some excellent forgiveness as well. So I think that's an option a lot of maybe high-speed players, lower handicappers might go for in this Ping i500 club. Obviously, there's a range of shaft options available. I probably wouldn't go for the Dynamic Gold 105. It's felt a little bit light for me. I want something a little bit heavier, a little bit stiffer. But that said, I was actually surprised at how low the ball flight was, given how light the shaft was. So it's an interesting performance package from this i500. It was very impressive across the board. The forgiveness was excellent. The performance was excellent. So if you're a golfer looking for more distance, more speed, more forgiveness in a club that looks fantastic, I mean, this club just looks amazing. The other thing I really like about this Ping i500 iron is the explosive feel you get off the face. It feels much like the G700, but I wasn't a fan of the sound of the G700 because it sounded very metallic, very wood-like. This is definitely more appealing on the ears. Like I mentioned before, it's very appealing on the eyes. It ticks an awful lot of boxes for a very, very wide spectrum of golfers. I think a lot of different players are going to buy into this iron because of everything that it offers. You're paying a little bit more for this iron. It comes in at £149 per club, but I do think there's some pretty good value here, given that it is doing a lot of different jobs. It's providing distance and forgiveness, a lot of speed in a very compact, playable looking iron with some good forgiveness as well. And don't forget, you've got that Hydro Pearl 2.0 finish on this iron as well, just to top it all off, to give you more consistent distances from the rough and also help these irons last a little bit longer in the bag. So I hope you enjoyed that review of the i500. Make sure you check out all the other reviews of the new Ping clubs on the Golf Monthly website and YouTube channel. But for now, from West Hill, it's goodbye.